Thanks for coming out to this lecture today. And those of you who are joining us on the web, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for tuning in. Now, in today's lecture, I want to start a new topic, and it's related to a previous topic. The new topic is the marvels of the number 7 in the Quran. Now, again, we're dealing with numerical miracles, but of a slightly different kind, in that previously we talked about the matching of words that are used a number of times in the Quran that seem to betray some intention. It's not just simply some haphazard number, but with some intentionality. And then we saw that there are patterns of 19 in the Quran. So we had several lectures in which we dealt with those in detail. Now, recently some researchers began to look into the possibility that things occur in the Quran a number of times that are products of 7. And indeed we find that there are many things, not so many at the obvious level, but many more at a deep mathematical and structural level. Things which are not immediately obvious to the naked eye, you might say, or at first glance, but that becomes apparent when the matter is investigated more thoroughly. So I'd like to share with you 3 bits of research. This is a paper from Halim Sayoud. It's not the paper in which he deals with the 7, but the paper in which he deals with 7 I was not able to print from the internet, but it's available. This writer has his own site, so you can search for him by name, Halim Sayoud, Halim Sayoud. He has pointed out several instances where the Quran uses words and expressions a number of times which is a product of 7. And of course, just to give you a quick introduction as to why this is really meaningful, you know that every second number is divisible by 2, right? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on. So if you pick a number at random, the chance that it is divisible by 2, that it is a product of 2, is exactly 50%, because every other number is a product of 2. If you go to 3, the numbers that are products of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and so on, right? So if you pick a number at random, without looking, you just pull the number, then the chance that it is a product of 3 is 1 out of 3. That's approximately 33 and 33.33%, right? It's so you're not going to get the 3 every time. You're going to get it 1/3 of the time. If you go to 7, then the products of 7 are 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 49, 63. It's every 7th number. So if you just pull numbers at random, the chance that it will be a product of 7 is 1 out of 7. 1 out of every 7 tries, you will get a number that is a product of 7. So in terms of percentage, it's like 14%. A 14% chance. Okay, children, I'll need you to be quiet now so we can continue this lecture. Shukran. By the end of Ramadan, these kids are going to remember, me as that man who used to always complain about the kids, right? So parents, help me here so that I don't have to mention anything about the kids. I only want to say to the kids, I love you. So let me be able to say that. Now, so the chance of getting a product of 7 is only 14%. Now, what is the chance of getting like a repeated? To get it again and again? This is not so easy. You know this from a game that involves the throw of dice. If you throw 1 die, the chance of getting a 6, which like most people want, you throw a die, you want to get a 6 because it's the highest number you can move far ahead on the board, right? So the chance of getting a 6, you throw 1 die, is 1 out of 6. But if you want to throw 2 dice in a row and you want to get a 6 on each of them, then the chance is 1 out of 6 times 1 out of 6, it's 1 out of 36. And if you want to get 3 in a row, it's 1 out of 6 times 1 out of 6 times 1 out of 6. It's 36 times 6 now. And what is that? 216. So it's 1 chance out of 216. So when you're dealing with a larger number, the chance that it will occur it's even more remote. And to get him several times in a row, this is like rather remote. And if you get it so many times in a row, you might think the dice is loaded. Somebody has programmed it to bring out that number again and again. So in the case of the Quran, when we will see that the number 7 will occur again and again, then it looks like somebody has programmed it to come out like that. And because it's at a deep mathematical and structural level, it's hard to imagine that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the one who programmed it to come out like that. Then what we will conclude is that it's the divine mind that somehow controls this Quran, so that when it flows through the mind of our Prophet ﷺ and he recites it, and then his disciples and companions, they collect it, memorize it, transcribe it, make it available in copies, so that eventually it reaches us in the form that we have it now. The Quran that we're holding in our hand now has that deep mathematical structure. And we ask, well, who put it there? The answer seems to be that this is the divine mind that controlled it and made it come out like this, so that there is this deep mathematical structure. So I said I will introduce you to 3 writings. So that's the one of them by Halim Sayoud. The second one is a 273 page book. I am not aware that this 274 pages. I don't know if it has been published as a bound copy yet, but this is available for free on the internet. I mentioned it in a previous lecture. I'll tell you one more time. The title of the work is The Marvels of the Number 7 in the Noble Quran, and the author's name is Abdul Daim Al-Kahil. Abduldaem Al-Kahil, Kaheel. So this is available for free on the internet. I suppose that sooner or later somebody will bind it into a book and make it available. Maybe you'll find it wherever Muslim books are sold. You can see it's a hefty study and a lot of very detailed work, which we will get into in a moment. And then thirdly, there is this book which I introduced previously, الموسوعة الذهبية في إعجاز القرآن الكريم والسنة النبوية, the golden encyclopedia of the miracles of the noble Quran and the prophetic Sunnah. This book is in Arabic, and as far as I know, no translation of it is available in English. And this book actually summarizes, well, it deals with the miraculous nature of the Quran from several different perspectives, including linguistic and scientific and so on. And there is also a hefty section dealing with the numerical miracles of the Quran. And within that section, there is a summary given of some of the findings of the previous larger work which I pointed out to you, the work by Abduldaim Al-Kahil. So Abduldaim Al-Kahil's work, which is 274 pages long, is summarized in a section of this book. At least the findings are summarized, but you really need to go to Abduldaim's work and see the detail with which he has done the investigation. And the investigation is now like published. It's open in his book. So he's not just simply making a claim that something occurs so many times. He gives you the details so that you yourself can go and count it word by word, letter for letter, and see that it's there on the page before you. Nothing is hidden. There are no tricks, and yet the number 7 comes out again and again. So first, let me say something about the mention of 7 in the Quran and in the Sunnah, so you can see how pervasive the 7 is in our tradition. Many things, according to the Quran and the Sunnah, are in 7. So you know the Quran speaks about the 7 heavens, and also that there are like number of earths. We know that even in nature, there are 7 days in a week. Abduldaim pointed out that the nitrogen atom, which nitrogen is the gas that is the predominant gas in the environment, and the nitrogen atom, he says, has 7 neutrons, 7, I don't even know the science, but the 7 is very much at the heart of the, somebody's nodding. Does anybody have knowledge about this nitrogen atom? What does it have to do with 7? Anyway, you investigate that on your own, but that's the air that we breathe, and the number 7 is there at the core of what we breathe. There are 7 days in a week, as you know. The prostration that we make, according to a hadith, it's to be done on 7 bones. So the toes, that's 2 of them, like on both feet. So that's the 2 knees, the 2 hands, and the forehead. So that's 7. According to a hadith, you are to prostrate on 7 bones. When we go to perform the Hajj, we make tawaf around the Kaaba. How many times? 7 times. We make sa'i between Safa and Marwa. How many times? 7 times. So you see, the 7 occurs again and again, and multiples of 7. The Quran says, if you seek forgiveness for them, sab'una mar'a, 70 times, Allah will not forgive them. That's regarding some people who are noted to be hypocrites, and they are bent on demolishing the religion of God. So many things are mentioned in the Quran, the 7 of this, 7 of that, or multiples of 7. As one of the researchers pointed out, the number 7 itself and its multiples occur in the Quran 28 times. 28 times. And 28 is actually a product of 7. It's 7 times 4. Now, Allah chose the Quran to be revealed in the Arabic language, and it turns out that there are 28 letters in the Arabic language. Not every language has 28 letters. The English language has 26 letters. 28 is a multiple of 7. It is 7 times 4, which means that there are 28 letters which are used in the Quran. The Quran is comprised of letters. How many letters? 28 distinct and different letters, which is a product of 7. Now, the Quran says to the Prophet ﷺ in Surah Al-Hijr, the 15th chapter, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ وَالْقُرْآنَ الْعَظِيمِ. We have granted you the 7 often repeated ones and the great Quran. We have granted you the 7 oft repeated ones and the great Quran. So what is meant by the 7 oft repeated ones? This is puzzling the way it is mentioned, because it looks like there is the 7 oft repeated ones and then there is the great Quran, as if these are like 2 different things. So what is meant by this? According to one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said about Surah Al-Fatiha, that is as Sab'ul Mathani, but then he continues, Wal Quran Al-Azim, as if the Surah Al-Fatiha itself is the 7 oft repeated ones and it is the great Quran. Or does it mean that Surah Fatiha is the 7 oft repeated ones and the rest of the Quran is called the great Quran? So this is left now in a teasing and tantalizing way. It requires more study, and maybe we'll discover more of the meaning of this as time goes by. But now, looking at Surah Al-Fatiha by itself for a moment, we've already said that there are 28 Arabic letters that are used throughout the Quran. How many of those letters are used in Surah Al-Fatiha? 21 of those. 21 letters of the Arabic alphabet are used in Surah Al-Fatiha, and 21 is a product of 7. It is 7 times 3. How many verses are in Surah Al-Fatiha? There are 7 verses. Now, if we go further into the Quran, we see that some things strikingly occur either 7 times or a number of times that is divisible by 7. For example, how many times does it say in the Quran that there are 7 heavens? We know that there are 7 heavens, and it turns out that exactly 7 times in the Quran it mentions specifically that there are 7 heavens. And then apart from that, how many times does it say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens, using that extended form, way of stating, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ, for example. We have created the heavens, without mentioning 7. Those expressions also, there are 7 of them throughout the Quran. There are 7 chapters of the Quran which are referred to as the Musabbihat. Those chapters of the Quran that start with with tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like Sabbih Isma Rabbikal A'la. That starts with the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are other chapters of the Quran that say Sabbaha or Yusabbihu. using that word, which is related to the verbal noun tasbih, there are 7 such chapters in the Quran. Yawm al-Qiyamah is mentioned in the Quran 70 times, which is a product of 7. 7 times 10. Jahannam, according to the Quran, has 7 doors. And how many times is Jahannam mentioned in the Quran? 77 times, which is again a product of 7. It is 7 times 11. So many things are found in the Quran a number of times that is a product of 7, that gives you the idea that this is not haphazard, it is deliberate. Someone has programmed it to come out this way, and that now we can see happens at a deep mathematical level. Let's look at the first time that the number 7 is mentioned in the Quran. And that is in Surah Al-Baqarah, in the 29th ayah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He created the 7 heavens. ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَسَوَّاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ. Then He turned towards the heavens and He shaped it into 7 heavens. So that's the first time. What is the last time? The last time is in Surah An-Naba, Amma Yatasa'alun. That is the 78th chapter of the Quran, and that is in the 40th ayah. There Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the 7 heavens, sab'an shidada. These are 7 firm things. Sab'an. So the first mention of 7 is with 3 words, with 3 letters. Sab'a. Sab'a samawat. Those who know Arabic, you know right away. It's Sin, Ba, and Ain. 3 letters. The last mention is with 4 letters, because now it's in the mansub case. It is in the object case. Now there are 4 letters. Sab'an, because it ends with alif. Now it's the same Sin, Ba, Ain, but now it ends with alif. Sab'an. So Sab'an. So you can see that there are 7 letters altogether that make up the first and the last mention of 7. This by itself is like a trivial thing. It's not so important. But when we see all of the other occurrences of 7, then we realize how important this is, and we see that there is a deep mathematical structure in the Quran that was not invented by any human being. We are just now discovering it and seeing that this structure is there. But let's now focus some more. So now if we take these 2 surahs, now, we will see that I mentioned Surah An-Naba, and I said that it's in the 40th ayah. It's actually in the 12th ayah, and there are 40 ayahs in that surah altogether. I just wanted to make that quick correction, we move on. Okay? So important thing for the moment, Surah Al-Baqarah has the first mention of 7, and Surah An-Naba, the 78th chapter, has the last mention of 7. What is the distance between these 2 surahs inclusive? We have some engineers and so on here in the gathering, and in fact the person who did this massive study, he is an engineer. I introduced the work previously, a 274-page work, Abdul Daim Al-Kahil. All right, so people think of things differently. As somebody who is into art, he looks for the artistic ways of things. People who are into engineering, they look for deep mathematical structure and other kinds of structure in things that they're observing. So, from Surah Al-Baqarah to Surah An-Naba, so if Surah An-Naba is the 78th chapter and Surah Al-Baqarah is the second one, so we need to take off the first one. The first one, Surah Al-Fatiha, does not come within this block. That means 78 minus 1, taking away Surah Al-Fatiha, it leaves how much? 77. That's the number of chapters from Surah Al-Baqarah to Surah An-Naba. That's the number of chapters from the first mention of 7 to the last mention of 7. And the number of chapters is how many? 77. Is that a product of 7? Yes, 7 times 11. But we're not done, because now if we look at where the first mention occurs in terms of the verse, we see that the first verse number, that's 29 in Surah Al-Baqarah. I mentioned it previously, where it says ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَسَوَّاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ. Then he turned towards the heaven and he shaped it into 7 heavens. So that verse number is 29. How many verses came before this? 28 verses, right? 28 verses. And is that a product of 7? Yes, it is 7 times 4. Okay, we go to the last mention. I corrected myself and said that Surah An-Naba has 40 verses, and this 7 is mentioned in verse number 12. Verse number 12. So how many verses come after that in that surah? Another 28. Another 28. So, and that's also 7 times 4. Now it turns out that if you go through a detailed calculation, we have a lot of children here, mashallah, alhamdulillah, I'm so happy for that. Children, can I ask you to be quiet for just a couple of minutes more? Children, girls, can you be quiet for just, give me 5 minutes more, we finish up this lecture, and then you guys can have 5 minutes to play, and then we break the fast, right? It's the deal? Okay, so 28 verses come after the last mention of 7 in that surah. It turns out that if you count, and this the engineer has given the total number of verses from the first mention of 7 to the last mention of 7 in the Quran, if you take the total number of verses spanning throughout all of those 77 chapters, that total number, I forgot what the number is, that is also a product of 7. Which means that since what came before and what came after each is a product of 7, it means that you have like a deep mathematical structure here just from the mention of 7. Now who was counting all of these verses from the first mention to the last mention to see that it will come out as a product of 7? Nobody. Not even our Prophet ﷺ can be imagined to have been doing that. Remember that our Prophet ﷺ was going about his mission for a period of 23 years. Somebody would ask him a question, he would give the answer. And the question and the answer sometimes both come as the Quranic revelation now. The Quran will say, Yas'alunak, they ask you, Qul, tell them this. So their question and the answer are both a part of the Quran given to the Prophet ﷺ by a divine revelation. And now it turns out that there is this mathematical structure. How did that arise? Let me give you another one that is simple. In Surah Al-Baqarah, it is mentioned that when you perform the Hajj, and if you are blockaded from performing the Hajj, there are certain specific rules that you must follow. And then, in the end, when you have to present your hadi, the animal that you're going to offer as a sacrifice, if you don't have an animal to offer, then you're to fast 10 days in total. 3 days at the Hajj, وَسَبْعَةٍ إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ, and 7 days when you return home. Okay, so there's a mention of 7 in this ayah. Now, what ayah number is this? Now this is really amazing, because the ayah numbers, as far as we can see, was not present in the most ancient manuscripts of the Quran. If you get an old copy of the Quran, some few weeks ago I held up an old copy of the Quran here, it doesn't have the verse numbers. Then eventually you find that as people copied and copied and copied, eventually they get the idea, okay, let's put some numbers in. Let's number every 10. So they would write the word ashara, which means 10. And then they got the idea later on, number every 5 as well. So they would write the word khamsa, 5. But they're not writing the numbers as we have them now. So you can't see at a glance what is a particular verse number. They're just making it easier and easier later on as they copy and copy, because people now have an interest. They want to take it to the next level and make it easier for people to follow. So then they put the numbers in. So now if you discover that this verse, which mentions that you should fast the 7 days when you return, you discover that the number of this verse is 196. Now what does that mean? 196 is not only a product of 7, but it's a product of 7 twice. It's 7 times 7 times 4. Now at the start of this lecture I demonstrated how difficult it is to find a product of 7. Like a product of 7 will occur every 7th number. So if you every 7th number is a product of 7. So if you pick a number at random, then the chance of it being a 7 or a multiple of 7 is 1 out of 7, or about 14%. The chance of getting 2 in a row is 1 out of 49. The chance of getting 3 in a row is 1 out of, 363? something like this. It multiplies. What's 49 times 7? 7 times 50 would have been what? 350. So 343. 343. So to get 3 sevens in a row, 1 out of 343. So the chance of getting a number of sevens again and again is very slim. To get 49, which is 7 times 7, is 1 out of 49. So for this number to be a product of 49 is a rather remote occurrence. It's a 1 out of 49. It's a double multiple. It's a 7 squared. To get that is remote, and to have that verse be the one that mentions the number 7, I think is remarkable. And that shows that there is a mathematical structure in the Quran, and this structure was not invented by any human beings. No human being put it like that. It just came out like that. Through all of the efforts of the Prophet ﷺ receiving the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, recited it to his followers, they're copying and transmitting it to the world, and now it reaches us in the form that he has reached us today in the most popular edition available. This is the structure that we are finding, and we're amazed that this is from Allah Azza wa Jal. We are amazed and we conclude that it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is not the work of any human being. That's about all the time we have in today's lecture, but tomorrow inshallah, same time, I will continue this discussion and give you more examples, going even deeper to show you how deep is this mathematical structure in the Quran. I invite you viewers on the internet to join us again tomorrow. All of you come out, boys and girls, men and women. Boys and girls, I'll ask you again tomorrow to be quiet while we have the lecture, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's about time for us to get ready to break the fast. So let's do it.